Orange through the heat, juicing up the fire like a rocket in space. You can't get no higher. Minute Maid Orange, orange soft drink, stuffing and roughing and never bluffing for nothing. While out there chasing and facing the orange taste that's blazing, yeah, scoring, pouring the orange that's ice. Cruising, choosing, juicing, so nice. Rap ball thrilling, orange chilling. The Devil Slam style set the next on fire. When it's Minute Maid, it's made, no jokes. That's all, folks, and Dominique jumps. The orange.
Minute Maid Orange Soft Drink, the Orange presents A Decade of Excellence, the first 10 years of the Big East.
To go. Boston College is going to take the last shot. With the foul situation, I guess they figure we'll either win it or we'll go to OT.
Well, they're going to pack it down inside. Garris has been the hot man. That's where it's been at because everybody's afraid to foul out on Syracuse.
10 seconds to go. Comes to Adams. Back to Chandler. He'll take it. Got it! Long pass comes up ahead to Sanford. Won't go. Won't count. Boston College has won it.
Would you believe it?
Boston College has won 94-92.
John Thompson just walked down and shook hands with Dave Gavitt, the commissioner of the Big East. John Thompson is now, in his own way, lighting that Red Auerbach cigar.
The first national championship for Georgetown. Somebody said earlier this week, Billy, only one team is going to come out of this happy the whole year. And look at the guy that's happy. It's John Thompson. That's it. Villanova has done it.
Welcome back for the final 19 seconds of the Big East Championship game, and it has come down to one possession. St. John's, again, has never led in this game, yet they have the ball with 1 second left, 19 seconds left,
19,
rather,
yeah.
and a chance to win. Near steal by Washington. Comes to Glass. Now Jackson. Rowan will take it. Hit it with 8 seconds to go.
Pearl.
Syracuse, no timeout. Washington, blocked by Walter Berry. St. John's wins.
I don't think this is a Cinderella team. I agree with John Thompson.
That's what it's all about. Three-point shot by Tillman, no good. Providence does it. The big upset, 88-73. They've gone to New Orleans.
Desperation. Syracuse goes to the Final Four with 1 second left. There'll be no stopping Coach Jimmy Boeheim now. A truly great moment for Jim Boeheim and Syracuse.
Now he doesn't have Rowe, who unfortunately fouled out for them.
Duncan would be his best chance.
Smith hits both his free throws in a clutch situation. 17 seconds, a three would tie it and send it to overtime. Douglas off the dribble fires it, doesn't get it cycling. And it's Douglas getting it back. Here's Duncan, the shot won't stay. 4 seconds to go. Thompson gets it inside to Brower, and that's it. Syracuse loses, and Pittsburgh has won the Big East.
Burton quickly to Wilson for three. Rebound Murray Williams. Now that should do it. 5 seconds to play. Intercepted by Wilson. 2 seconds, and UConn has won the NIT. Huskies of Connecticut win their first ever postseason tournament.
Does it sound funny to anybody else to say Seton Hall is going to play for a national championship? What a tremendous story this is, and they're now within 4 minutes and 25 seconds of moving to Monday night. And they did it the old-fashioned way here this afternoon. Nothing but hard work. There wasn't anything easy about what this team has accomplished here today. Morton. Seton Hall heads to the championship game with a dramatic comeback, putting away Duke 95-78.
Originally, it was Dave Gavitt, of course, from Providence, Jake Krauthamel from Syracuse, Frank Rienzo from Georgetown, and myself.
My background was football. Had just recently arrived here at Syracuse, coming from a head football coaching position, and suddenly walking into a very, very strong and visible basketball program. I'm trying to get acclimated to that fact, and suddenly now my fraternity brother says, hey, let's form a conference in which basketball is going to be the lead sport.
We met really over this 13-month period. Initially, it was like once a month and frequent phone calls, but when we got down to that final spring, it was like once a week for about 8 straight weeks. And we hammered out everything from logo to number of sports we were going to play and conference philosophy and commonality and all of the things that this had to be built on to be successful. And normally what would happen is we'd all fly into LaGuardia early in the morning and we just go to a room and just keep going all day long.
It developed a mutual trust and respect that still exists, especially among the four of us, that even though we'll fight and disagree, there is an abiding respect that was developed in the heat and hunger of some of those meetings that we had. And they've been affectionately called the LaGuardia meetings.
We had a dinner group together composed of Dave, Jack Kaiser, Frank Rienzo, myself, and John Thompson. Now, you bring John Thompson in on a meeting, you're not spoofing around. I mean, this is going to be all seriousness.
I was very cautious about it. I think that anytime you've been an independent and had the right to do things the way you wanted to do them, and were having a reasonable amount of success at doing that, that we felt that we wanted to stay pretty much to ourselves. But at the same token, we could see that the independent schools were going the way of the Buffalo.
I'll say number one, it was a big, as you already know, it's no secret that I was not one of the ones that was pushing for the Big East, especially in the beginning. Later on, of course, I'm one of his strong backers. I felt that we had certainly achieved a position of respect over the years. What did we need another league for? We had played all this team. We were playing Georgetown, Syracuse, Boston College, Providence. We had played them for years. So I didn't see at the moment the advantages.
I think Dave Gavitt, once again, was the catalyst here. He and Lou happened to be in Europe at the same time and were coming home together.
And I can remember being with Dave Gavitt, we were over in Europe, 78, 79, watching the European Championships. And we had tickets to come back. And I guess Dave wanted to make sure that he had me in his corner. So on this long trip along with some of the fine vinos, did a tremendous job of convincing me.
And we had a very long day flying back to the United States after the European Championships from Torino, from Milan to New York, with all kinds of plane delays. And I got a little red wine into Louis, and by the time I got him to New York, I'd convinced him it was the right thing to do, and he tells the story better than I do.
We really didn't want a part of the Big East in the beginning. We were going along, things were good. We were sold out every game. We had 9,000, 10,000 people at every game, and we said, what more are we going to get?
We wanted to have the best team in every major city in the East, and we wanted to have every team that was in a real hot spot, like a Providence or a Syracuse, covered. So we started with Washington, and we moved north. And when we got to Philadelphia, there wasn't anybody that was really available at that time, and we waited for Villanova for a year. And we got to New York, we had St. John's.
Boston College was immediately enthusiastic. And the next step then was to invite Boston College and Seton Hall and Connecticut, which was a fine state school with good support, to a meeting at the Sheraton and invite them to the conference. And having done their homework previously, they accepted. And we started out with a 7-team conference.
The name Big East really came from a lot of brainstorming from a lot of different people, but we had a Providence public relations and advertising agency involved with us at that point, and one of their key guys, a guy named Jim Duffy, was the guy that actually first surfaced the name Big East. There were lots of really wild things that were on the table. The most bizarre one that I recall was the Mayflower Compact.
I recall being at practice, maybe a February or early March. Usually we didn't practice in March because we weren't busy at tournament time. But February, Richie saying, "Could I see you after practice?" And going in, and he said that I just came from a meeting at the Sheraton LaGuardia, and Dave Gavitt has this concept.
What Dave did, he took teams, the idea had to be there before. Somebody had to think, well, let's get St. John's and Villanova, Georgetown, those people together and play. But some guys can get those ideas, but they can't put them into action, and I think Dave did that to get those schools together to play and sell the idea of how great it could be. I think you have to have great foresight to be able to do that, because you have to be able to sell what it's going to be like, not what it's like right now.
There aren't many leagues that can be put together today that already had teams that had great tradition. What happens is somebody tries to put together a league and say, now we'll build tradition. These schools already had tradition, they just need to be a league.
Has been the coaches. The coaches who were here when it started, the Carnesecas, the Boeheims, the Thompsons, the Massiminos. I mean, I think those guys have stamped 10 years on this conference.
They've withstood the test of time. You've got Rowley, of course, of Villanova coming in and being very successful, obviously with the NCAA title, John at Georgetown, Louis at St. John's, and of course Jimmy Boeheim up at Syracuse. They bring with them a sense of stability, a sense of being well respected in this profession, and I guess an image or an aura of guys who stand for more than just winning and losing games.
In the case of Jimmy, the record speaks for itself. Sure, he has the dome, but he was successful before he got the dome. And he now is beyond successful in terms of what he brings to the bottom line for his sport at the University of Syracuse. So I think that without question you have to put him up in the upper echelons of college coaches and what he's done.
Jim Boeheim coaches very successfully in one of the most difficult and pressure-packed coaching situations in the country, and I think his offensive concepts are second to none.
You know, when you go in there and you look at the blue curtain and see all those NCAA and an occasional NIT banner in there and realize that he's the thread going way back to when he was a player and an assistant coach and a head coach, that he's clearly the person most responsible for a Syracuse basketball program.
He's had a really great effect on my life. I think one of the most positive people that I've been around. He's helped me not only to matriculate through Georgetown, but to develop as a person for the world that I have to live in beyond basketball. And to me, that's what it's all about.
John probably means more to his program than any single coach in the country. I think that's a safe statement.
No question I would have came to St. John's, and I love Coach Carnesecca. But if there's one guy that I would have had to pick second to play for in the whole country, it would be John Thompson. As you look over at the sideline, and this guy is giving you all of this and yelling in a soft voice and going crazy, and you say, this guy is over here giving 150%, loving, what he's doing, trying to get a message to all of us. Let's give 150% for him.
You want to be around him. He takes care of you. He worries about you off the court more than he does on the court. On the court, he just wants you to move your butt. Off the court, he's worried about your butt. So, I mean, he takes care of you.
I think Lou Carnesecca, again, the one thing he told me back maybe 14 years ago, before the league was even established, let's not talk about how good your team is or how bad your team is or this player and that player. Let's just talk about our families. Let's just talk about what we're doing, our health. I never forgot that.
Well, you'd have to say Rollie built that program. That program is the blood and sweat, and it's him, and his players. And there's an awful lot to his family concept and what he's meant to Villanova. He runs his program in a very different way.
I really believe when Massimino goes to bed at night, he absolutely is lying there and thinking about every kid. Are they home in time tonight? He's really that father of just what he preaches, that family approach. He really believes that, and he's so sincere and has such a love for his players.
Tommy Lasorda of college basketball. He kicks you in the head, and then he loves you, but he gets his team to play his family.
Certainly the relationships have strained over the past 10 years. There have been ups and downs. There's been times, I remember one time when Jimmy Boeheim and I huddled up in the stands during the summer. I think it was in the dome and talking out our problems and our conflicts that we were having. And that's the way it should be. I remember some disagreements when Louis and I have had to talk with one another about some things, or Rollie and I calling one another at night and talking. But I think the key to the league has been the fact that regardless of what it has been projected as publicly, we have been able to maintain enough sanity for the most part that we've been able to communicate.
I had no clue what he was doing on the sideline. I always heard that he was a nut and he was running around, jumping and falling and all kinds of things, but I never saw it. Fortunately, I was on the floor playing the game, and at that time, you can't really see what's going on. And the only time I saw it was when they showed it on TV. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I played that game. How come I didn't see any of this? And he's pulling out his hair and his jacket's going all over the place. His shirt comes out and he's spinning on the floor. And I had never seen any of this. It was shocking.
The ugliest sweaters I've ever seen. But I said, well, better ugly than cold. So I put it on, and it's a funny thing happened. We went into that game, and we win a ball game on the last second shot. So I figured, what the heck, this is a pretty good omen. Now, come to Madison Square Garden, and Big John, has his jacket on. So we come out there, usually greet each other and shake hands. And just before I got to him, he opened up his jacket, and he had a replica of my sweater. Now, not only did he upstage me, but even worse than that, he won the ball game. I didn't mind the sweater, but when you win the ball game, that